Hi, I'm Jeff Gonzalez, president of Trident Concepts, and today I'm here with Brownells Daily Defense to talk to you about knowing the law. So a lot of folks are coming into the gun industry, and many of them are coming as a result of feeling the need to take their personal safety as a personal responsibility, which is fantastic. It's great. Welcome. But many are also still a little reserved about carrying a firearm, partly because they're not entirely sure about the legal system and what it really means to carry a firearm. So there's a lot of things that you can do to help familiarize yourself with the law. The first thing that I really encourage is if your state has a shall issue LTC program, take advantage of it. Most states, even in today's shifting landscape where now constitutional carry is starting to kind of take over, still have an LTC program for a lot of reasons. In case you don't know, LTC stands for License to Carry, which is what your state will provide you once you've met all the requirements. But the real reason for me to encourage you to look at the LTC program is because the state is going to provide you with some insight into the law. So in my state, Texas, there's a good amount of information that is delivered to the students via the LTC program as it relates to the law. Very important and informative stuff. So pursue that. If you're not inclined to maybe go and get the LTC, there's other things that you can do. Most of the states will put a lot of resource information on their website as it relates to the LTC program. They have a lot of frequently asked questions. They'll even have articles and blogs that you can check out that kind of help familiarize yourself with more information as it relates to knowing the law. Outside of that, you can even look at some publications, some books and manuals that actually go in depth into the law. Now, the only thing is that generally those are broad in scope, not necessarily state specific, but there are publications that are state specific that you can actually learn more about the law in your home state. Probably the most important thing, or I should say one of the questions that's asked of me the most, is knowing where you can and can't carry. And every state is a little different, which is why it's important that you familiarize yourself with your state's display process. So many states have signages that are placed up in businesses or locations that will either say you can or can't carry inside of their facility. So become familiar with them so that you kind of know what to expect as you go about your day-to-day business. But knowing where you can and can't carry is also kind of like the first step in overcoming the fear or anxiety about carrying out in the public. Once you kind of get to that point, the question invariably comes up, well, what do I do when I have to interact with law enforcement? And we're not talking about a self-defense setting. We're just talking about perhaps maybe just a traffic violation. Whatever the case might be, again, you really have to research what your state requires. In my state, I'm required to produce my driver's license and license to carry if I am carrying concealed. So when I get pulled over for any type of traffic violation, I know right away that I just need to hand over both my driver's license and my LTC license. So again, familiarize yourself with that. There's a couple of etiquette or tips that I would say that you might want to can take into consideration. First, no furtive movements. Try to be calm and relaxed no matter what. Even if you know that you weren't speeding or you feel like you weren't speeding, you really don't want to try to start that argument right off the bat. Have the ability to communicate and explain to the officer that you are carrying concealed once you hand your license, where it is, and they'll probably give you guidance on what to do from there. The next thing we talk about is what is the worst case scenario? Well, the worst case scenario is that you have to actually use your firearm in a self-defense shooting. So then we need to know what to do after the shooting. And I believe this is where now we need to start to move down the road of looking at insurance, liability coverage for those instances where I do have to use deadly force to protect myself or my loved ones. And there's a lot of insurance or a lot of organizations that provide this service. And you're encouraged to research what is going to work for you. All of them are all of them provide a lot of different options. And so you can kind of figure out, well, at this price point, I get all of this. At this price point, I get all of that. So you can kind of like meter and make a determination as to what is in your best interest, what works well for you. My recommendation is that if you think about it, a year's subscription to one of these programs is going to give you tremendous peace of mind. But the other thing that it's going to do is it's going to provide you with even more resources about what should you do both pre and post shooting. So a lot of times they will give you an actual script on here's what you should do. Step 1, step 2, step 3. And I think a lot of times providing that information in advance helps to maintain a better awareness of what you're doing, first of all, out in the real world, and then second, what to do after the incident, whatever the case might be. So knowing the law it's not a burden, but it is a challenge. You do have to get out there and put the effort into understanding I shouldn't say all, but what is reasonable for a reasonable person to be able to understand as it relates to the law and self-defense. So if you have questions or comments, please feel free to post them down below. Until then, take care and stay safe.